Welcome back to Gator Games Fan TV. How are we all getting on? How is the form? And it is official. It is confirmed. Brennan is the new Dublin senior football manager. We're going to be reacting to the news in this video, discussing it in more detail, getting your opinions and your breakdown in regards to this news as well. It was obviously announced yesterday evening, and I suppose everyone was maybe winding down from work and everything else, and about to crack into a fabulous weekend. And all of a sudden, there you get the news. Brennan confirmed as the Dublin senior football manager. Interesting. I mean, it was for a long time, it was being talked about Declan Darcy being the new manager. Like, that was the word on the street. That's what everybody was saying. Even some, I wouldn't say inside sources as such that I have, but I do have a few connections within Dublin. And yeah, it seemed to be like it was going to be Declan Darcy. And kind of a bit mad. Something similar happened a couple of years ago as well, where it was like everyone was reporting that Desi was going to leave and Declan Darcy was going to replace him. And it was almost like a done deal. And then this had the same feeling to it as well. And then all of a sudden, something has happened somewhere along the way, whether there's just been bad information or whether something else has happened. I don't know. Some people suggest that maybe the players opted for Brennan, and ultimately that's why he's ended up getting it. But look, Brennan was my preferred candidate. He was the one I wanted as the Dublin manager, in my opinion, because we've saw what he's done with Louth. Like, what he's done with Louth has been nothing short of remarkable, in my opinion. He's done an extraordinary job in a very short period of time. Look, maybe following on from the success a little bit that was left by his predecessor in Mickey Hart. But like, Mickey Hart left, jumped ship, obviously to Derry. Louth was in a bit of a tricky spot, a tricky situation at that time. They had a lot of great players there. There's no question about that, and young players, but it was one of them scenarios where is he going to be able to get the best out of Louth football? Is he going to be able to take them on to the next level? And he has, got them to an All-Ireland quarter-final last year, won them a Leinster title as well. I think he's proven himself to be a very astute manager. I was there in Croke Park when Louth beat Meath as well, and you can see the sort of Pat Gilroy blueprint, which we'll get onto him in a moment as well, because it looks like he may be coming back too. But yeah, absolutely delighted. It's the news I think that every Dublin fan wanted, in my opinion, that Brennan's coming back. And look, what will it mean for Dublin football? It's hard to know. I think the first thing for Brennan, to be honest with you, is to get on the phone to Brian Fenton, to Paul Mannion, and try and get Dublin's best team on the field. Look, obviously Brian Fenton played for Dublin football for a long time. He achieved everything. Regardless of what manager comes in, he might feel like, I don't want to come back. Regardless, maybe Paul Mannion, who we know has kind of dropped in and out a couple of times already at this stage, and obviously had his injury problems as well. So look, that's going to be an interesting thing. Can he get those two on board just to kind of propel us a little bit more, give us a better chance going into next year? That's going to be the big thing. And then, of course, you're looking at maybe some big decisions that need to be made in terms of, do you keep Cluxton as the goalkeeper? Do you bring in a new goalkeeper? Are you holding back a development of another goalkeeper? What kind of players are going to come into the team as well? Is going to be a big question, of course, as well from a Dublin perspective. Are there, the underage has kind of dried up recently in recent years. There's no question about that. So Brennan's really going to have to kind of have a look through under 20 teams, see if there's any players who can come into the panel, develop obviously the younger players that are there, which he did very well with Louth, it must be said as well. And he worked very closely with Gavin Devlin, who of course now is the new Louth manager himself. Obviously, Gavin Devlin coming back to Louth last year, and Brennan's worked very closely with him. So that's going to be a big thing as well from a Dublin perspective. And look, Dublin need to embrace the new rules. There's no question about that. We didn't do so really last year. It felt like we were still playing the same way, and obviously when Dessie Farrell has coached the team for so long and you get these new rules to come in, when he knows he's coming to the end of his term, is there a point in him embracing that? Probably not, but I think Brennan needs to get these players on side in terms of the new rules, because I think we do have players who can kick two-pointers, who can benefit from them. Maybe more new rules potentially coming in as well, and we'll see what happens in regards to that. So look, it's a big job. It's a big project. It's a different job, I think, to when Dessie took over. It's a different job to when Jim Gavin took over, and it's probably maybe a little bit similar to his fellow clubman and Pat Gilroy in terms of when he took over Dublin, a little bit there. And speaking of Pat Gilroy, like the word on the street, and I haven't heard this officially yet, but is that he is coming back as well. Part of the panel. I've heard Noel Moyne is coming back. Or not coming back, but he's coming into the panel as well. Mick Bohan as well is going to be in the backroom team potentially. So there's some very interesting people involved within Dublin football, which is huge to have them involved. It will be interesting having Gilroy and Mick Bohan, two kind of prominent figures within Dublin who could have maybe been in the discussion to become the Dublin manager themselves, come in as backroom. But look, we'll wait for those official news because that isn't, I think, officially confirmed yet. But yeah, delighted, absolutely delighted from a Dublin perspective. Few comments here. Sean says, good appointment in my opinion. He would have to build a team with a solid brace already. What do you think of Andy Moran being favoured for the Mayo job? Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's kind of similar in some ways, isn't it? Andy Moran's done a great job, maybe on a different. Obviously, Leitrim is a different level, isn't it, to Louth? But he probably done the best he could do with Leitrim. He's been involved with Monaghan as well. I would have thought Austin O'Malley would have been a great shout, to be honest with you, as Mayo manager. I even think Rochford, to be fair, maybe could be considered. But I know they don't want to keep, they've gone back to Horan a couple of times. Do you want to go back to Rochford again? You probably do need a long-term manager as well. So maybe Andy Moran's a good shout there. Sean says the underage mightn't be as good as what it was, but I'm sure there's players in Dublin. You see the team Donegal have didn't come from major underage success. Yeah, absolutely. It's spot on. And there's a lot of great club players in the county as well. Some phenomenal club players. We saw, with club success in recent years with Coola, with Kilmacud Crokes as well. There's a lot of very good club players within Dublin. And I think a lot more of them need to be integrated more so into the team, as well as with some of the younger players as well. So I think there's some big ones there. A2 says fresh faces. Your comments gone away. Fresh faces, fresh ideas, fresh style of football. It's badly needed. Let's get back to where we belong next year. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And I think, look, the first thing really, and it's going to sound a little bit silly, but really it's to win Leinster. Do you know what I mean? That's the big thing. That's been a given for so long. And it's going to be tough winning Leinster now, bizarrely, with Meath coming up there. Kildare are looking good. You've got Offaly who are rising as well. Louth are still going to be there, of course. So I think that's going to be a huge, that's, look, it's not an impossible task, but I think that needs to be the first thing really, is just getting a bit of silverware on the board. How will we treat the league? Probably how every kind of big team treats the league. Just stay up really is the main thing. It will be tough for Dublin though in Division 1. There's no question about that. But we need to just survive in there, to be honest with you. Survive in Division 1. And try make a crack. Look, I don't think we are a million miles off. You're looking at the contenders probably for next year. If we're looking at things earlier right now, I think Kerry are obviously there. Donegal are going to be there. I think Armagh are definitely going to be, up there as well. I think they're the three main contenders. You have a few other teams as well, like Galway could make a bit more of a stab at it next year. Derry maybe with Kieran Mina there now. Tyrone are still going to be in the mix. I don't think Dublin are a million miles off a lot of those teams. I don't think we're a million miles off them. If we can get a few old faces back, maybe some younger players to come in, I think it is possible. I think it is possible to challenge, but it definitely has to be viewed as like a long-term kind of project, if that makes sense. I think we're looking at a bit of like a Porrick Joyce at Galway, a Kieran McGeeney and Armagh. Like this has to be viewed as 5, 6, 7 years, in my opinion, because it's not going to happen next year. It probably won't happen the year after. But I think there needs to be it needs to be viewed as a long-term project. And look, Ger Brennan's a young manager. He's only fresh relatively in terms of management and intercounty football, in terms of the 2 years he did at Louth. So yeah, I think that has to be viewed as a long-term project. For any Louth fans watching as well, do let me know your thoughts on this one. I've seen Louth GA's statement that they put out on Twitter as well, and definitely a little bit different to the one they put out about Mickey Hart a couple of years ago. I think it is different though, isn't it? I don't think any Louth fans, I would hope Louth fans wouldn't have too much of a grievance towards towards Ger Brennan, because look, ultimately, I think firstly, look, he is a Dublin man. You know, he's played for Dublin. He's won All-Irelands with Dublin. He's been involved in Dublin clubs. Like, he was always going to come back to Dublin in some capacity. Maybe some Louth fans might be saying it's soon, straight after the Leinster title win. Maybe he could have stuck around with Louth a little bit longer. But look, you know, when you look at it, Dublin have only had 3 managers since 2009, 2010, with Pat Gilroy, with Jim Gavin and Desi Farrell. So, you know, Dublin could have got Declan Darcy in and he could have stuck around for a long time. You don't know, like, that opportunity could have passed Ger Brennan by. So you have to take it while it comes, especially when you're as passionate and as involved with Dublin as he has been down the years. So it absolutely made sense, in my opinion, to for him to 100% take the role. And yeah, look, I suppose for Louth as well, like, given what he achieved as well. And one thing worth noting is that Ger Brennan did resign fairly quickly after Desi Farrell had left, and I think that was probably more so as a courtesy to Louth, because I think he was going to apply for the job, he was going to go for it, he was going to be part of the recruitment process, and I don't think he wanted to do that while he was still Louth manager. Given, they kind of got burned before in regards to that, didn't they? But look, to be fair, I think Louth have a good manager coming in Gavin Devlin. I think, both counties win a little bit here, in my opinion. And yeah, look, strong possibility that Dublin and Louth go face to face in some capacity next year. So how's that going to be? Obviously Ger Brennan has a bit of a scoop on the Louth lads as well, which could benefit Dublin in some, games in Leinster if it was to take place next year. We'll see. So yeah, interesting there. A2 says, I still think we're at a level above the other Leinster teams. Honestly, got ambushed by me. Don't think that'll happen next year. I think the big thing is Croke Park as well. Like, I think if we get me in a apologies, folks. The laptop's gone dead there, so we'll wing it for the last couple of minutes. But look, ultimately, yeah, like, delighted in regards to the appointment for Ger Brennan. I think it's a huge appointment. It's the right decision in the end, from a Dublin perspective. And yeah, look, it's a big one next year. We'll have to see kind of how it goes. But going through the comments again, A2 was saying, I still think we're a level above the other Leinster teams. In all honesty. Got ambushed by Meath. Don't think that'll happen next year. Jim says here, Philly McMahon and there we go. Philly McMahon and Paddy Andrews rumoured to be in the back room. Yeah, there seems to be a few different rumours floating around. In fairness, I think Philly McMahon's involved with Nace, though, isn't he? So I don't think it'll be him, to be honest with you. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, look, I think, we were ambushed a little bit by me. I think what I was saying there before my laptop rudely decided to go dead on me was Croke Park. Look, Croke Park's obviously a big thing. If we get Meath in Croke Park, I think we can beat them. But in a neutral venue, they could have our number. How much better are they going to be under Robbie Brennan next season? You've got Kildare coming up as well. Look, Meath is the one I do worry about, to be honest with you, when it would come to Leinster. I think we can beat Louth. Long time since they beat us in the championship, and then of course as well, I think we can go and beat the likes of Kildare and those teams. But yeah, do let us know in the comments your thoughts in regards to Ger Brennan being the next Dublin senior football manager. And until the next one, we'll see you all there.